everybody. I'm so glad you can join me in another episode of Indra's Healthy Indulgences. How was your week? I hope you had a very productive one. Yesterday, I went and visited one of my diabetic patients and I got to talk to his family and all, and he was lamenting to me how he often feels very tired, and when that happens, he often looks for sugary foods to perk him up. Now, as we know, diabetes is one of the fastest growing ailments that affects Indians. A lot of it has to do with our genetic makeup, but our lifestyle compounds it. But let's not forget, it's also fast reaching into the other races and they're catching up. And to me, I think what's most troubling is a lot of diabetics are also being diagnosed when they're young. So I was actually very inspired by payasam, which is an Indian dessert that uses grains, the wholesomeness of milk, as well as fruits and nuts. But this version of mine, I'm gonna substitute it with quinoa. And instead of loading it with a lot of added sugar, I'm gonna sweeten it naturally with raisins. And now I'd like to share a very nice guilt-free dessert, especially for diabetics, with you. This version of my payasam, instead of using wheat-based types of grains, I'm going to use quinoa. Now, quinoa is an ancient grain that's very popular in South America, and it's been eaten by descendants hundreds and thousands of years ago. But one thing nice about quinoa is that it's very, very nutritious. It's one of the only grains that has a full, complete, balanced set of amino acids, and it's also very, very high in protein. So we're going to use this as our grain, and in our payasam we're also going to use the goodness of milk. Milk also has proteins and it has calcium, and it's really good food. So we're going to heat up our pot. I'm going to heat up 4 cups of low-fat milk. This recipe is extremely easy. Everything just pretty much goes into the pot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of quinoa that I've already rinsed and washed. I'm just going to add it straight into the pot. Give it a good stir, and when it starts to bubble up, just turn the heat down and cook it for about 45 minutes until the quinoa starts to soften and cook. Now, after about 45 minutes, you'll notice that the quinoa has already cooked and the milk has already cooked down. At this stage, we're going to add in our raisins, and I'm going to season it with a touch of cardamom. Now, when it comes to seasonings, always just add as you go. Always be sure to taste it and see if it's to your liking before adding more. And don't be scared to adjust it to your liking. There are really no hard and fast rules. But what's nice about sweetening this payasam with dried fruit like raisins is that it gives it that natural sweetness. Plus, it then also counts as a fruit serving. Raisins, like quinoa, is also very high in fiber. And fiber, for a diabetic diet, is what helps to keep the glycemic index down. So that helps you to control that blood glucose level much better. Okay, my payasam is done. You can either serve it up warm like this, straight off, or you can actually put it into the fridge and wait for it to be chilled. Some people like it hot, some people like it cold. It's entirely up to you. But honestly, I can't wait. I'm ready to eat it. Portion, so don't go overboard. It's always nice to have just a small bit. Okay. And now I'm going to top it up with some more goodness. Lovely flavors of roasted cashew nuts, some pistachios. By adding nuts, you also boost the protein content and the good fats, like the omega-3s, which is all good stuff for diabetics. But on top of that, at least you make the dessert nutritionally substantial. It's not just empty calories, but it also counts towards your intake and also your nutrition. So that's really good. And last but not least, I'm going to top it up with just a dash of cinnamon. Now, cinnamon has nutritional properties that has been touted to help control blood sugar level. And honestly, to me, all spices just add the flavors to it. So there you have it, a very healthy, high protein, naturally sweet, payasam-inspired dessert with the nutritional goodness, absolute goodness of quinoa as our alternative grain that's good for diabetics. On top of that, it's sweetened naturally with raisins and topped up with our crunchy nuts and also the wholesome goodness full of calcium and protein of milk. I really hope you'll try this. Let me know how this recipe goes and whether your family enjoys it. I would definitely love to hear from you. And remember, if you have any questions or you just want to drop me a comment, go ahead and write to me. And if you have any issue or health ailment that you'd like me to, to challenge me to see if I can come up with a recipe for you, drop me a line as well.